A couple of things that you need to remember with inequalities. Inequalities involve these symbols. The ones on the left are less than symbols. The ones on the right are greater than symbols. When you have a less than or a greater than symbol, like these two on the top, we are going to use a dashed line. Inequalities involve shading multiple points to indicate where the solution to the inequality would be, all of the points that would work in that inequality. If it's just less than or just greater than, you're saying everything up to this line is a solution, but the stuff on this line is not a solution. So a dashed line is not included in the shading. If it's a less than equal to or greater than equal to, we are going to use a solid line. Those are included in the shading. For x is greater than -2, remember this is VUX, so this is going to be a vertical line. So we need a vertical line going through the x value -2. Should we use a dashed or a solid line for this one? Dashed line. Make sure you extend it across the entire graph. If all I see is 2 dash marks right around -2, that's just not going to cut it. You need to extend it across the whole graph. X is going to be the shaded stuff. All of the x values that are larger than -2 need to be shaded. Where on this graph are the x values larger than -2? To the right. If you're a highlighter or a colored pencil person, this is totally your section. Once we have the solution area shaded, I want you to remember what this means. This is a visual representation of all of the possible solutions to this inequality. So I could pick out this point. This point is 5, 6. The point 5, 6 is a solution to this inequality because its x value is larger than -2. If I put a pink dot right here, is that pink point a solution to this inequality? No, because it is on the dashed line, and the dashed line is not included in the shading. This point is -2, 6. Our x value is not larger than -2. It is equal to -2, so it is not a solution. Part B, take a moment. Try that one on your own. This is y is less than or equal to 4. Just y, there's no x, so it's hoi, it's a horizontal line at 4. This time it's a solid line. We want to shade the y values that are smaller than 4. So 3, 2, 1, that would be all in this area down here. If you're shading with pencil, honestly, doing that is totally fine for shading. Or you can turn your pencil on its side to kind of like shade using the lead. Or if you really like colored pencils or crayons or highlighters or whatever, you can shade that way. In example 2, we're going to have to do a little bit of work before we're ready to graph these. We really want to get these equations to look like y equals mx plus b before we try to graph them. I just totally didn't write that correctly. So if we want to get a to look like y equals mx plus b, what do we need to do first? Subtract 5x on both sides. That will give us 4y is less than or equal to -5x plus 12. Then we need to divide everything by 4. So y is less than or equal to -5/4 x plus 3. when we have our inequality in the form y equals mx plus b, b is where you begin. It's the point on the y-axis. It's the y-intercept where you begin. So we are going to begin at 3 on the y-axis. Don't forget that you always start on the y-axis. I have still seen people try to graph from the x-axis. Don't do that. Then your slope, your m, is how you move from that beginning point. Negative 5/4 means down 5, right 4. By going down 5, you've used the negative, so then you must go right 4. If you went down and then left, you'd be using 2 negatives, which would create a positive. You have to make sure your slope looks negative when you graph this. And I would probably do that again. Down 5, right 4. Should this line be solid or dashed? Solid because it's less than or equal to. You all have student IDs that you're supposed to have during Wildcat Hour. And if you look at your student ID, it's about the same size as one of these graphs. So if you have your student ID, you can pull that out and use that as a straight edge to draw a nice line across your graph. Please do not give me tiny little mini lines. Please extend your line across the whole graph. Okay, now we have to talk about shading. Less than, I'm going to add this to this little chart over here. Less than, we think about shading down. Greater than, we think about shading up. This is less than. You basically want your y values here to be smaller than the line. So if I put my pencil on this purple dot, where are the y values smaller than they are at this purple dot? This purple dot is 3. Y values that are smaller would be 2, 1, 0. They'd be smaller going downward. If you put your pencil anywhere on the line and draw an arrow straight down, that will show you which side of the line you need to shade. So I would want to shade this side of the line. Whoa, got a little crazy there. Okay, part B. What do we need to do first in part B? Get y by itself. We need to subtract x.
We're going to divide by a negative.
Yep, we're going to have to divide by a negative. When you divide by a negative, you have to switch the sign. It becomes y is greater than positive x minus 2. So the one quirky rule with inequalities is when you divide by a negative, you have to flip the sign. Now take a moment and try to graph this one on your own. If you're watching the video, pause the video, try graphing this one entirely on your own. I'm going to begin at negative 2 on the y-axis. This time I don't see a slope. There's nothing in front of the x, which means there's a slope of 1. So up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1, and so on. This will be a dashed line. It is helpful to do this in pencil because if you start going too fast, sometimes you draw in a solid line and then you think, oh crap, that's supposed to be dashed. So then you have to erase chunks of the line to make it dashed. So if you use pencil for this, it makes it easier to fix that rushing mistake. Y needs to be greater than, so we need to shade up. Think about that beginning dot at negative 2. Where are the y values bigger than negative 2? They're bigger straight up. That's the side of the graph that you need to shade. You do need graph paper for your assignment, so if you're absent, make sure you stop by and get some. Those of you in class, I'll hand them out in a second. Starts on page 211, 13 through 16, all 22 through 28, even 34, 36. Make that go away. There we go. Ah.